Hello and welcome to my Hangout show today. We're talking with Kim Tarr of Prep This House, a very experienced home staging professional and industry expert. And we're going to talk about changing business models that home stagers have to do. So maybe you're someone, maybe you think you're alone. Maybe you've been staging for a while and you realize, like, I don't know what to do. I'm not really enjoying doing this anymore. The physical activity is getting too much. So what do you need to do? So, or you might just be someone that is starting out and you're thinking, well, how do I build my career? So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how I made a lot of business model changes in my career, which is, 2002, I started part-time, but 2004, I dived into it full-time. And for those of you that don't know me, if you're here for the first time, welcome. My name is Dana Smithers. I wrote the book, Start and Run a Home Staging Business. And you can get that book on, you can get it at the library. You can also get it on Amazon or in some of your local bookstores. So I'm also a certified law of attraction trainer. So when I do these shows, I also like to bring in some elements of and principles and tools of the law of attraction. So in the next 30 minutes, we are going to be talking to Kim Cole, who's in the Canadian market, and she's in a fairly small market, unlike me, who's in a much larger market. And we're going to find out from Kim kind of what her journey was. And as I say, I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. So I would like to welcome Kim to this Google Hangout. So Kim, welcome. And Kim, I'd like you to tell people where you are, but also since we've got the time, let's go back to what you did before you became a stager.
Oh my.
Exactly.
That was a long time ago. I was a nurse for 15 years.
Wow.
And I absolutely adored being a nurse, but I got seriously ill. So I had to, my doctor told me I needed to change what I was doing and do something that I absolutely loved. And I was doing decorating on the side for family and friends, as most of us started out like that.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to brush up on some courses and start doing more decorating. And then I lived in Alberta at the time, and I just thought, you know what, maybe that's not the direction I really wanted to go. I moved out here to BC and found your course and took it, and I have not looked back since.
Right. And that's a long time ago, because
yes,
for me, my journey was leaving corporate at the age of 50, and I started taking interior decorating courses, like you said, like a lot of us do. And that was late 1990s. And I really loved the decorating. I didn't really know that I could do it as a business. I didn't really think about that. But, just with all the different backgrounds, like, it's interesting how people get into the business. And at that time when we met, I was teaching, I was one of the founding members of the Canadian Redesigners Association. So we started that in 2002, and my company at the time was called Sun on My Back Redesigns, and wasn't Empowered Women, it wasn't Pres Staging, it was none of that. So I've had quite a few business model shifts and name changes as well, which we're going to talk about with you. So once you took the staging, so I forget the name. What was your first company name, Kim?
It was called Shoestring.
Right, Shoestring Design. Yeah, exactly. And so tell us what that model was like for you then.
I basically started it because as a designer and decorator, people don't often have the money to turn around and wipe the slate clean and bring everything in brand new. So I wanted to attract clients who had products, things that they liked in their home that they could utilize. They just weren't placed properly or not accented correctly, that type of thing. So that was the basis of the model for that company. And I think because of the name, that is the kind of clientele that I attracted. Somebody that was more budget conscious. So, and I mean, that was all good. I was okay with that. But then when I wanted to take the business to the next level, the name of the company really bound me to that structure. So I decided that it was time to make a change.
Right. And Kim, when you had that business, because I know, well, let's just say where you are in the market, because we didn't tell people that, and kind of who your clients are in the smaller market. Yeah.
I'm in Kelowna in the Okanagan Valley, and we work with some very high-profile agents here who mainly sell between $400,000 and $2 million, $400,000 to $2 million properties. That's our price point that we work with.
Right.
We do have a luxury market here. I choose not to get involved in the luxury market. Our demographic is within that price range.
Right. And I would think, like you said, with the name, because everything's about the brand, with Shoestring Interiors, then you were looking for your ideal client was someone that was working within a budget.
Yes,
and a tight budget.
Absolutely. So our clientele back then, they were working within, you know, the $79,000 to $200,000 bracket. So our clientele were somebody who was struggling and, you know, needed to sell their house or needed to decorate or whatever the case was, but they were working with a very tight budget.
Right. So with your Shoestring Interiors, you then took my course, which at the time it was through Sun on My Back Redesigns, and I was teaching through the Canadian Redesigners Association. So you started adding staging to your business.
Yes,
tell us how that business model changed then.
Came back after taking your course and decided that I needed to do to rebrand myself. I didn't necessarily want to change the company name at the time, but I just thought, okay, I can add these other services to the company. So I went about doing new business cards, rack cards, things like that, and getting out in front of my clientele, agents, home sellers. I did networking groups, events at chapters, things like that, to focus on adding staging as our business model. And my very first staging client was a high-profile agent from Vancouver, actually, who had a $2 million listing that he wanted to sell. I had never staged a property in my life before.
Right. So tell us about that. So obviously you did it, and very successfully.
I did. The house sold in 10 days. When I went and met with the agent and I was talking to him, and I'm surprised he didn't actually see my hands and feet shaking. I was so nervous. But he looked me square in the face and he says, you know, he says, you're very confident. He says, you know exactly what you're talking about. He says, I think I'm in good hands. I was like, whoa, okay, this is good.
Yeah. And that was really good, right? Because that gave you the confidence to do it. And from then on, you added a lot of staging to your mix. And then I can't quite remember what it was, but then I approached you because I wanted to. Oh no, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm going to come back to that. So for me, when I had Sun on My Back Redesigns, my clients were interior decorators, or sorry, interior clients that wanted interiors done, color consultations, you know, more on the decorative side of things. And then when I took the Canadian Redesign course as well, I took that in 2002. And that changed my business model a bit, because then I got into redesign. And just like what you said, Kim, I loved it because not having to go in and change everything, like just walking into a space, we all know that, right? We know that as stagers as well. You walk in, you go, okay, move this, move this, move this, take those down, put that over there. This goes with that, right? It's just easy peasy. And the more you do, the easier it becomes. You can just see visualize what they can't, though, which is good, right? That's why we have clients. But I just want to talk about a little law of attraction principle here. So what we all do in our business model, if we're at this point, we want to take a look at what we don't want. So you and I were talking about this earlier. We've all gotten to that point where there's things we didn't want. But the only way to get to what you do want is that you've got to get clear on it. So with the law of attraction, what I recommend is do a whole list of what you don't want when you're just about ready. You know, when you've kind of had enough, it's like, okay, this is not working for me. So what is it that I want to do? Because we're all going to get to that place. It doesn't mean, it might be 6 months, it might be 5 years that you decide you're going to change your business model. So I want to talk about when I decided to change. The something I've always loved doing is teaching, and so I always knew that when I took the redesign course with Val Sharp in Victoria, that I eventually wanted to teach it, and I did do that. But what I realized in my market, so I had my Son of My Back redesigns, I had my homeowners, not really too many sellers at that time, but ones that I was doing decorating for and the redesign. After I took the redesign course and started working with home makeovers for living, it was about that time, 2004, 2003, that people started asking me, my clients, could I get the house ready for selling? And really, staging in our market and your market as well, Kim, because it's a smaller market, didn't happen as quickly as it did in other markets. So we had to do what was called a concept sell. So, you know, we got all the tools together that we could use, and we did some good marketing, and we strategized where we're going to go out and educate, because we had to educate. Now we've got different clients, right? So when you're moving from, you know, the decorating world, that home owner who just wants to make over for living may not be the same as that person that you're now going to get over here, which might be a realtor, right? So it's all about that clarity that we have to get. So I had my clients, I started teaching under the Canadian Redesigners Association. And then I decided that I wanted to start my own staging school. So like many of the other home staging trainers out there, and there are some great courses out there, I started Prez staging training. And I wrote the manual, I wrote a 5-day course, and I really loved doing it. So I was, in fact, doing staging, redesign, decorating, and training. And so for me, I wanted to expand, and that's where I contacted Kim and said, Kim, would you like to be my trainer up in Kelowna? And you did actually Kelowna and Calgary.
Calgary, right? Yep. It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you added that to your business model and got more into the staging as well. And then from there, tell us how and when you got into what happened, what made you decide that Prep This House was going to be a better brand? Tell us about that process.
Pardon me, I've got a bit of a cold. What happened, I had expanded the business. We had a huge warehouse of inventory, and myself and another fellow stager here in town had decided, because there was only 2 of us at the time, so we would work simultaneously on jobs. She would hire me, I would hire her, vice versa. And we just thought, you know what, why are we working, against each other? Why not just form another company and put 2 great minds together and see what happens? So we decided after we went out for breakfast, and it must have been absolutely law of attraction, because I'm embarrassed to say how the name came about for our company, but anyway.
It's all good.
It was funny. We were sitting and we had ordered breakfast, and they ran out of eggs, or they ran out of bacon, so we ordered something else, and they ran out of that. So finally, 3rd time around, it was almost lunchtime by this point, we got our breakfast. We were chatting about agents and how the market here was just, it was a really tough sell to sell staging, for people to understand the concept. Here, it's pretty much an old boys club, where houses have always been for sale. Doesn't matter what you do to them, it's not really that they're going to sell anyway. So we were sitting there talking about it. We were just doodling on pieces of paper, and I drew a big H, and because we're thinking of names for the company, it was H, home, house, whatever. And we thought, oh, well, preparation H. What do you use preparation H for? So we shortened it, and it became Prep This House.
Okay, Kim, that's going all over the internet here. That's great. I love that story.
Yeah, that's how we came up with the name.
And how did you pick your colors then and your brand? What did you?
We hired a local company.
Good. Okay.
And we wanted something that was classy, fun, that would appeal to men and women, but at the same time, just stood outside of the box. And so we have pink, gray, and white. The gray is like the background color, or the white, depending on what it is. Yeah. But they decided with the name of the company that those were the colors that we chose, and it works out really good. We've had lots of people tell us that our company name, or my company name, is a TV show in the making.
Yes, yeah, it is a great name. I know when I first saw it, I loved it. I loved the branding and all of that you did. So yeah. I just want to talk a little bit about, you know, a lot of stagers, even when they took my course, or gals that I'm coaching right now, talk about wanting to partner up with somebody or another stager. And, you know, a partnership, if you're going to do a formal partnership, it is like a marriage. And, you know, what you want to do is you want to run that movie ahead. And lawyers and accountants will tell this, like, what will happen should things change? What if, you know, you're working with a woman and she's younger, let's say she has a baby. Let's say there's a health issue. Let's say maybe there's a divorce or change in somebody's life. What do you do with that partnership? So I know along my route, I looked at partnerships and got very close to making one, but I just decided that I preferred to make my own decisions, financially independent of someone else, and that I wanted to be responsible for the choices and decisions that I made moving forward in the company, because I realized that I never really liked doing just one thing, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. I've always had a lot of different things going on. But so Kim, maybe you can talk about that a bit, because I know that you had I don't know if you had I think you had a more formal partnership in the beginning with that.
We did. Yeah, we did. And actually, we were friends first. So yes. We sat down and we decided, okay, what is each other's strengths? What is it that we're really good at individually that we can bring to the table that will transition into how we operate this business? Pardon me. So we did that. We sat down and the other individual is very good logistics. I'm a very good shopper. Variety of different talents. Excuse me, I just need to get a glass of water. So we did that, and we formalized all that, and it worked out very well. We were partners for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And it came to a point where the other individual decided that this wasn't really where she wanted to be going in her life. She wanted to change.
Okay.
So that was devastating, because we had worked at growing this business together, and we did, you know, it was like, okay, now what? But in the end, it all worked out for the best. And we still work very closely together. So yeah. It's awesome.
And I'm just going to say something about Kim here, because I've known her for a long time. Kim always goes that extra mile, so she will try and make everything work. She'll think of things like, would this work, would that work? So I know that they did a lot of problem solving with that, and I admire Kim and the other person for saying, you know what, I don't think this is working for us anymore, right? So that's again, we go back to this, right? We have to take a look at what is it that's not working for us. So what is it that we do want? And with the law of attraction, we then want to get focused on that. So with then with Prep This, oops, sorry, so with when you split up, then what did you decide? Were you changing the business model again, Kim, or what went on then? You kept the name.
I did. I kept the name. The other individual decided that she wanted to go in a different direction, completely not doing staging. So we basically agreed that I would take the company and move it in whatever direction I chose. And right. She would go off and do something else that wasn't even related to staging, still in the decorating field, but not staging. Right. So again, now this is another avenue where change is happening within the business. And we had a good client base at the time, so that was good. It was just now, instead of seeing two of us, they were seeing one of us. And so it wasn't really a bad transition. It would just meant now that, you know, there was a little bit more hard work to be done. But it was good.
Right. Yeah. And so now with your business model, tell us what your business model comprised of then, Kim. Who are your clients?
Currently
and your
now,
team.
Currently our clients are home sellers and agents. We're finding that we have a wonderful base of regular real estate agents that use us, but we're finding here in the Okanagan Valley that we're getting more home sellers directly hiring us before they actually get a real estate agent. Now that's obvious. Yeah, that's obviously through TV, things like that, making things a little bit more up and coming. They're aware of staging. We had a lady who's actually selling her house by herself. She's got no agent, and she absolutely understands the importance of staging. So we went in and helped her with that project. So now we've grown the business, like I said, where we've got a wonderful database of agents and home sellers. We've grown the team to, we've got 2 girls that are with us full time, and then another girl that fills in every now and again. We have a professional photographer that works with us because that's extremely important. That's one of my bed bugbears is homes that don't look presented well. So we want to make sure that every job that we do is presented in its best possible light. So, and we're having a lot of fun doing what we're doing.
And do you have a warehouse, Kim?
We have a smaller warehouse. When we transitioned back from shoestring and transitioned into Prep This House, both myself and my business partner at the time decided that we were not going to carry big box furniture. We were not going to carry sofas, things like that, because the overhead to have it here when it wasn't being rented out was just too costly. So we changed that business model. We carry accessories only. And then we've aligned ourselves with 2 third-party furniture stores here in town that we rent furniture from, like big sofas and beds and things like that.
Yeah,
and it works out really well.
Yeah, and that's often a business model that that's more like the business model that I had when I was in staging as well. And Kim, I just want to talk a little bit about some of your marketing strategies, because I know you are a syndicated columnist. So tell us how that came about.
When I first started out with shoestring here in the Valley, I thought, well, how am I going to get business? So I started writing a weekly decorating article for a local coffee shop newspaper. And that sort of transitioned. It got me a lot of business. And then as business built and got busier, that sort of went by the wayside. And then I was approached by a local online newspaper to write a column. And I've been doing that now for a few years. And 2 years ago, they informed me that the column has now been syndicated and is in 13 other online newspapers across the province.
Oh, wow, that's absolutely fabulous, right?
Yeah.
And you and I were talking, and you are getting business from it, so that's great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's they revamped their branding and how they attract business, and it's a lot more visual, so that the content is there, but there's a lot more photos and things like that attract people to look at the newspaper.
Right. Oh, good.
So
good.
It works really good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because there's so many different marketing strategies that we can have, but I know that's one that's served you well.
It has, yes.
Yeah, so just some of you may be wondering about why why I don't have Pres Staging anymore. You can check it out, presstaging.com. Well, I knew when I started that business that I was going to sell it. So unlike Son of My Back Redesigns, I never wanted to sell that. That was kind of my first baby where I was figuring out what's it like to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea, right, coming out of corporate. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur, but lo and behold, it's a long time now. But so when I just kind of let that website rest and eventually took it down. When I started Pres Staging and the training, I still did, I was coaching my students as well at the time, and training students And also I had my own clients, so was working with realtors and home sellers. But for me, I just got to the point where I was going to be approaching 65. And I thought, you know, this little body, I mean, I'm 5'2". Won't tell you my weight now because I am a little bit heavier than I used to be. It's kind of silly, but it's how I feel. But, you know, I'm not really a big person. So I got tired of moving furniture and lifting furniture. And with one of the last classes that I did, we had to move this really, really horrendous looking old desk, which was in the middle of a living room on a property that was already on the market. So these were the MLS photos. No living room furniture in the living room. You walked in, opened the door, turned to the left, and you saw this desk. So again, no brainers. It's got to go upstairs. So when we went to move it, we lifted it up and the whole thing just fell apart. Like literally the shelves came down and the top, and I'm just like, okay, is this a sign? You know, like I know I'm tired. And so, you know, it was not the fun experience that staging could be. So I always say, you know what, if you get to that point, and this is real law of attraction as well, pay attention to how you feel. If something isn't feeling good any longer, it's probably time that you moved on to something else. So for me, I'd always done the coaching. I started Empowered Women in Business several years ago, but this was a little bit what I was doing, and this is not good in the world of law of attraction. I was kind of juggling too many things, right? I had the staging, had the training, had the clients, I had the decorating, I had the coaching, and it's like, I'm getting a little tired here. So I had to decide what it is that I wanted to do. So again, like I've been talking about this, but this is actually what I did. Looked at what I didn't want to do anymore and got really clear on what I wanted to do. So I set out to sell my business, which I did do, and felt very good about selling it. I'm very proud of my business and all the stagers that I've trained. And when I started Empowered Women in Business, I knew that I wanted to coach a lot of entrepreneurial women, and I do coach a lot of stagers. So that is my business model right now. And it will probably stay this way for a little while because I enjoy doing it so much. But Kim, I'd like for you to talk about what we were talking about, that we're seeing a lot on the LinkedIn and the Facebook sites and even Google, where people have been in it about 10 or 15 years and they're saying, okay, they love it, but they don't want to do the physical. So I know that now you're taking another risk and looking at switching that up. So would you mind sharing what that might be for you?
Absolutely. I've been in this business almost 10 years now. So yeah. With lifting and hauling and you know, like you were saying, your body takes a toll. Your knees are gone, your elbows are gone, your wrists are gone. But I love what I do. So how can I transition that to still give me the luxury of doing what I want without doing some of this? So I've built up a team of really good people that I think we're transitioning now to the point where I'm going to have them go and do the actual on-site staging, and then I'm going to restrict myself to just doing consultations, which for me, because I'm very hands-on, I love to be part of the job. We've built up a great reputation here in town, so people can determine just from looking at a job. I didn't realize this, but people say, okay, we know this is Kim's job. We know,
love it.
And we want to maintain that. So for me to just take a step back and allow somebody else to be creative and giving them the freedom to see how they express themselves when staging a property is huge for me, because I'm not normally like that. I want to be hands-on.
Right.
So another transition now for us is I'm going to be taking a little bit of a step back, letting the girls be more creative, and I'm going to like I said, restrict myself just to doing consultations. And I shouldn't even say restrict myself, because it's not even a proper word. It sounds negative, and it's not. Yeah. It's absolutely, I love doing consultations.
Yeah.
And when you do them well, people are on board. They love the suggestions. They're motivated, and
muted yourself a little bit there, Kim. There we go.
Mm.
Yeah, so I loved what you were saying about you know, making that transition. And you and I talked about this word control before we went live, but I just consider that leadership. You know, like you've got to have a strong leader, but when it gets so that people aren't enjoying it or not enjoying working with you, or you are too controlling, then that's when it's not good, right?
Yeah.
And you trust your team to do a great job, but really it's what you said, Kim, is that your sellers, that's why you want to keep doing the consultations, because they're buying you.
Yes.
Right? It's your business. You've built it up. They know that those signature jobs that Kim Cole always does, they're always going to get, right? So that's really what it's all about there. Yeah, that's great. Oops, I'm just gonna. Okay, so just before we wrap it up, I just want to thank Kim Cole for joining me today and just sharing that. And you know, I hope that we have inspired some of those stagers that are starting out, or maybe some of the more seasoned stagers that are thinking, you know, I'd really like to do something different. I'm not sure what that will look like. So it is entirely up to you, but if you get that nudge, you know, listen to your intuition. Is it time that I switch out my business model? And you know, I've always find that when I'm ready to take that risk and make that change, that I'm always supported. But for me, with the law of attraction, it's always being about clear on what I want my business to look like, and then growing it from there. So Kim, any final words to any of those stagers or wannabe stagers out there, seasoned stagers?
My motto has always been, if you have a passion for something, go and do it. And I have seen a variety of changes in my life that have affected how I've done business, and every step of the way, and there's been setbacks over the years, but every single step I've taken has gotten me to where I am today. And I am so grateful that I'm in an industry that gives me the opportunity to do what I absolutely love. And it's surrounded with people who love to do the same thing. So hang in there.
That's right. And if you got to switch up the business model, figure out what it is and go ahead and do it. And make sure that you engage, you know, for home stagers, a lot of us are in Facebook. There's home staging groups. LinkedIn, there's lots of groups if you've got questions. We've got a Google community as well. But if you're interested in coaching, I do a 30-minute complimentary coaching with people. If you want to just figure out, okay, you know, what are your next steps, or you just need someone to bounce some ideas off, we could do that if you're interested. So Kim, let's just tell people what your website address is.
It's prepthishouse.com.
Excellent. And they can find you there. And I know it's a great website. I really enjoy going to it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a work in progress, but it's really good. We enjoy it.
Yeah, websites are organic. Everybody needs to know that, right? So I'm at empoweredwomenbusiness.com. So thanks so much, Kim, for being here today. And I hope that, yeah, I hope a lot of people get a chance to watch this, because we'll put it out there on my website, but also in the Google community. Okay.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for chatting.